What's up guys, Mr. Dan here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Martial Arts Monday review. This week we're taking a look at Kung Fu Executioner, starring Carl Scott and Billy Chong. This is the second film that I featured on the channel that starred both Billy Chong and Carl Scott, and this is part three of three of the Carl Scott films that I'll be reviewing. The first one was Soul Brothers of Kung Fu, also starring Bruce Lee. And then the second one was Sun Dragon. And there is a fourth one that he's credited for, but it's actually Bruce Lee, the Man, the Myth, which is a Bruceploitation film featured on this set here. He's in the credits, but I didn't see him. So a lot of people, there's a lot of clips that they took from other films in that film. So he doesn't really have a starring role per se in that. So this will be the third in a three-part series of his films. And Kung Fu Executioner is actually pretty good. It actually starts, interestingly enough, with Carl Scott on a red background, just like a lot of the old Shaw Brothers films used to do. They used to have a monochrome background, or sometimes like some scenery, and they would just show, as the credits roll, they would just show people doing their techniques and almost give you a little sneak preview of what's to come. He's using a variety of weapons, some staffs, and then nunchucks, and then Billy Chong jumps in. He's got like a rope dart and some other weapons, and then they break some bricks. It's actually a pretty cool scene. Kind of rare to see a Westerner in one of those opening scenes like that. And essentially this film, I think, took some hints from The Godfather, or lifted some ideas from The Godfather. You have a guy who escapes prison in handcuffs, leg irons. He gets out of that. He manages to, I don't know where he is, but he gets to where he wants to go. He links up with an old henchman of his who's a really ruthless guy. One of these two guys, I think it's the villain, is played by Chen Sing. He's very good. I really had a hard time figuring out who is who because of all the different spellings of the actors and the characters. But the henchman has a knife and he straight up murders a guy in the beginning, and it's actually pretty bloody. You actually see a scene where he's like, the guy's face down on the glass from under the glass, and somebody on IMDb made a snarky comment about the blood looking fake. Actually, to me, it looked more real than it usually does. I don't know what he's talking about, but I really, I was like, wow, this is pretty violent. And apparently this film was featured in one of the many documentaries about the censorship of films in the United Kingdom. So essentially we have a young man, Billy Chong, and his friend, played by Carl Scott, who's supposed to be like a kickboxing champion. So they're already friends in this right off the bat. They just get right to it in this movie. They're traveling home on a train. He gets a suitcase, the guy gets a suitcase mixed up with a young lady. Later on, all of a sudden they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and she has like 2 or 3 more scenes. And there's not a lot of character development here. It's fight, 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 fight. Okay. But they come home, and the bad guy now, wherever he is now, in Hong Kong, I'm not really sure. He's just walking around with impunity. I mean, he was a fugitive from the law before, but now him and his henchmen roll in. They want to take over or go into business with this guy's dad, who lives in a beautiful house, very nice looking house, for good sets in this movie. And the father's kind of resistant to go into business with him, kind of like The Godfather. I don't know if the father's business was supposed to be legal or semi-legal or whatever, but eventually there's some attempts on his life, and then there's a scene right out of The Godfather where he's in the hospital and the bad guy's coming to the hospital to attack him. And the Billy Chong character sees a guy named Enzo. He's like, Enzo, I'm Enzo, the baker. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding about that. That's from The Godfather. But anyway, it's very much like that. And the girlfriend's there, and she gets a little traumatized by seeing the attack. But again, we don't really see much of her after that. There's not a lot of development. So they just have a series of fights. I mean, I just watched this, and when you watch a lot of the similar movies like this, back to back, they do kind of bleed together. But both Carl Scott and Billy Chong are excellent in this. Really good fight scenes, really good choreography, a number of weapons. The bad guy has a cane. Guess what's inside of the cane? So the cane itself, he's really nasty with it, but then he's got a surprise inside of the cane. I'll let you guys figure that one out. He's really good. And then of course he brings in some, guess. It's not that funny. He brings in some samurai to help him out. So, and of course he has to challenge one of them just to test him. So you got that fight, and then of course they eventually will fight with you know, our heroes, and then the bad guys will eventually have confrontations with our heroes. There's not much more to say about this. It's a guy trying to protect his family from a crime syndicate who uses kung fu. I mean, that's the movie. But it was really pretty good. I enjoyed it. I'll certainly watch it again. And it is on a double feature with Sun Dragon on the Wu-Tang channel. They have them separately and as a double feature. Hopefully somebody, like the makers of this Bruceploitation set, the Game of Clones, hopefully they... Because actually I was watching one of these today, and I was listening to the commentary, and Michael Wirth actually mentioned the Billy Chong, Carl Scott collaborations. I hope they take these films and put them out on physical media and get the best possible copy, because watching them on YouTube, it did seem like it was cropped a little bit. So that's what they've been doing, assembling the best possible copy from what is left out there. But really enjoyed it. I'm actually kind of sad that the fourth Carl Scott movie, he only has a brief appearance, or that was a clip of him from another movie or something. I missed him, like I said. I was hoping for a whole nother film where he had a good part, a decent part in it. But yeah, he only really appeared in those 4 films. All right, that's the review of Kung Fu Executioner. Billy Chong and Carl Scott were great in this. The villains were great. Solid film all around. Highly recommend it. Check it out on YouTube. Now on Tubi it said unavailable. They had the little thumbnail for it, but it said unavailable. I don't know if it's coming back or what. And let me just make one final comment. A few days ago, we lost, on September 9th, I believe, Hoi Sang Lee passed away at the age of 83 after an illness. I've mentioned him several times on the channel. I went out of my way to highlight him a few times. He was in 36 Chamber Shaolin, Last Hurrah for Chivalry, just Shaolin Mantis. But he also appears in movies like Soul Brothers of Kung Fu. He wasn't afraid to jump into an independent film for a few minutes. He was in Mercenaries of Hong Kong, which I reviewed. He really brought a lot to 36 Chambers of Shaolin as the abbot that challenges the Gordon Liu character, keeps challenging him to get better. The two of them are a huge part of why that film is a classic. So rest in peace, Hoi Sang Lee. Okay, see you next Monday. Later.